good. Wink. Here we are. Oh, he's blowing his nose. Perfect timing. I got you
Hi.
right on camera, right as you're blowing your nose.
Hey,
I'll go back to me.
everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
It is cold there. Hold on one second. Now I got to move you
Yes.
down a little bit. And
10 seconds, gentlemen.
we're ready. We're all excited. Hi, chat room. Welcome. Good to see you guys. Hold on. Getting started. It's coming.
There you are. There you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We live on the upside of a hole. That's pretty much true of everyone on Earth right now. 2020 was a deep crevice that we all fell into, and coming out of the other side of it, you can feel like you've done a lot of climbing, and yet just be at ground level. You know what I mean? That's the essence of having been in a physical hole, much less an economic hole, psychologically. If it's a lot of work getting from depression to just average, you know what I mean? That's psychologically for people. And the same is true across a lot of different fronts. We have made a lot of progress in the last, 2 years in the fight against COVID, and a lot of progress continues to be made, and yet we are still reaching what is effectively ground level as far as nationwide health and all that. And one of the things that has always been a bit of a bugaboo as far as the nature of numbering the COVID deaths in the United States is how many people actually died from it versus how many people died from it plus something else, the comorbidity factor. Now, I'm of the belief that if you had all these comorbidities and that was the thing that killed you because you were walking around with those comorbidities relatively fine, considering your long-term lifespan might be affected, but your acute lifespan wasn't going anywhere. You weren't going to die in the next 2 years or the next 3 years without
You're just waiting for something like COVID to come along.
Yeah, something to tip you over the edge. You know what I mean? Yes, you're a mess, but it was a relatively common mess in the United States, and you'd have hung on for another decade and a half or so, and more than likely because of the age range of people with those kind of comorbidities, you either were previously disabled, meaning you never worked, or you were going to work right up to the time you keeled over. That's how most of the time those kind of levels of comorbidities work in the United States, anyways. And then
Hal Vickery hitting us with $2019.
Oh, look at that. Remember those days? Remember 2019? Thank you so much, Hal Vickery. So the question ends up being and everybody's asking where my space shuttle backdrop is. No, I'm back in the saddle again. We're back at the regular studio, which is so relaxing for me compared to being on the road. I've gotten so comfortable in this little hovel. I feel like I'm in, in a hyperbaric chamber or something. Like I'm just surrounded by 3 screens. This must be how gamers feel. Anyways, so the death rate in the United States, depending on who you listen to, has been undercounted somewhere between 7% and 30%, depending on who you ask, because of the statistical death rate of COVID itself before we got a vaccine, and the measurable difference between the unvaccinated and the vaccinated, and how certain states wanted to downplay it. And we had a president who told Bob Woodward at the time that he always wants to downplay it, and they were fudging those numbers all over the place. And meanwhile, even though our numbers are undercounted somewhere between 7 and 30%, especially in the first year, now that we have more honest numbers and we're counting lots of infections, and it's showing us a lot fewer deaths, a lot fewer hospitalizations due to...
Well, the vaccine is experimental.
Right. It's I don't understand. I don't want to take it's going to change my DNA, and my DNA is perfect. So
You know what? Roll the dice.
yes, God don't make no trash. I think is the old David Cross line. So in the meantime, one of the things we've heard and the Olympics are coming up. They're going to start in a couple weeks, and everybody's kind of on the fence about this. But what we've heard is China has a zero COVID policy. And they have had, you know how many deaths they've had from COVID the entire time? Johnny Million?
In China, I bet zero. I bet nothing.
4,823, something like that. 4,000.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, in a country of 1.4 billion people.
Mm-hmm. It sounds accurate.
Know.
And none of them pee or poop.
Huh? Yes, none of them.
None of them pee or poop, and they all shoot a hole-in-one.
That's right. That's right. It's amazing. Yep.
They invented the hamburger.
Yeah, they're all tall enough to be able to step over a hurdle without even stretching, and they're all short enough to walk under a door frame without bumping their head. And they all have a 6-foot wingspan, and all the things that are impossible are possible. Well, it turns out that while we've been undercounting our number somewhere between 7 and 30%, turns out China has been undercounting their number, and this is kind of fun leading up to the Olympics, by somewhere in the order of 18,000%, and that the minimum number of dead that they have is closer to 1.7 million. And that is baseline. That is the absolute bare minimum, how many you're going to lose just by stacking all factors that are, and close proximity in a highly contagious disease, especially during the Delta wave, which was, even more virulent as far as who it took out. This is based, I think, on alpha numbers. And this is one of the things that, we've been ice skating uphill against other countries. Like there's this point of pride about how many cases and deaths you have is indicative of somehow how your government is handling it, instead of how many people you have, how close they are, big cities versus small cities, the chance of interaction with someone who's got the contagion. And it's one of the reasons why the infection rate in the United States is such that, let me see if I can bring this up so that people at home can actually look at this, that the currently new COVID infections are declining in the United States, and the doctors believe that the Omicron wave has peaked and is on its way down. Now, is that the same for everywhere? Is that the same for, New York versus Iowa, for example? And the answer is no, it isn't. And that's the problem that the CDC and the NIH have in talking about these numbers, is that we don't believe science, we don't believe in vaccines, we don't need this stuff, it's not really a problem, is the kind of thing that creates an extra problem if you live that way when it finally hits. Because yes, there's a delay. If it starts in the highly populous areas, because there's a higher chance that someone with a South African variant is going to fly to New York or Washington, D.C., or Miami, or Los Angeles, or Seattle, or something, than flying to Des Moines or Minneapolis. And so what's going to happen is they land in Chicago, they give it to someone, a couple of weeks later that it trickles in such a way that somebody drives up to Minneapolis, and then you have the break. So what we're seeing right now in these numbers is like the numbers in Rhode Island and in New York. And New York's numbers are down 247 per 100K. Like, that's great. Minnesota's is up plus 127. That's the issue in these situations. North Dakota's up 103. Oklahoma, Kansas is up 105. Alaska is up. And this is because, and then all these other states, that are later to the game are up, 54, 8. In the case of Indiana, it's up 3 per 100,000. West Virginia's up 61. But no surprise, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, those are on their way down. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Maryland, all these areas that are highly populated, Florida even, are on their way down because that's where it first hit. And so there's this follow wave. It's just like being in a stadium. The first people to throw up their arms, first arms to go down. when you're doing the wave. And it's these people halfway across the stadium who are like, I wonder if it'll make it all. Look, you participated in the wave, have you not, Johnny Million?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes I'll do it on my own.
You ever seen it go around a few times?
I don't know.
You know, when it goes around once and then it comes back around a second time. And then the third time you're like, I don't know how committed I am to this third run of this way.
That's why I was hesitating. I'm like, really?
Yet,
I guess.
And yet, right, somebody near you won't do it, but somebody near you will throw their arms up. And what does that do? That leads to somebody a couple of seats down throwing their arms up.
It makes me look like an a-hole.
Yeah, it does. It makes you look like you're you're not a good team fan or band fan or
good
whatever.
Team fan.
Yeah. So
you had it right.
This is what happens in these areas. This is what we're dealing with in terms of the spike in certain areas right now, is because they are on a delay from the impact, and that delay gives them the illusion of security, that they can drop their guard. Well, it's already passing because the news, almost all of it in America, is in New York City. So the first wave hits New York because it's the center of a lot of stuff. The news, because all the commentators, all the reporters, all the people who are the anchors are all coming and going with, Uber drivers and people at restaurants and all this stuff. And they're dealing with it first because they're on the front lines of this stuff. And so they react to it like you would if you were on the front lines of something. But the people in Des Moines aren't feeling it yet. The people in Minneapolis aren't feeling it yet. And so they kind of write it off. They're like, these people are overreacting. And they are if they were in Des Moines. If they were in that area, like local Des Moines news isn't acting like your national cable anchors are or your cable reporters are that are on the East Coast and they're affected by it earlier. And so by the time it gets to Minneapolis and Des Moines and these places, they've already gone, these people are, they're freaking out. It's not happening. And that's exactly when they let their guard down. And then you see this spike. And that's one of the other factors we've seen beyond vaccine hesitancy in those areas is strictly a factor of time scale, the location of America's news as a pinpoint, think of it as a marker in time. That what happens in New York is kind of a measure of noon and the clock of news. And as it ticks forward, you're over that story by the time it's reached noon where you are. Because it happened before. And so that part of it has contributed to deaths in this country. It has absolutely contributed to people's feeling of vaccine hesitancy, and that's it. It's a minor factor, but that percentage is the extra percentage of deaths. It's also the extra percentage of uncounted deaths. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll deal with a little bit more of that. The reason cases are arcing down, but deaths are on the rise is because we're climbing out of a hole, not climbing a mountain. So statistically, the number is askew, and that goes to economic numbers in a good way and in a bad way. We'll talk about that as well, because year-over-year inflation, watch for it next year. It's going to be amazingly low. Gee, I wonder why. We'll be back.
And I'm in the chat defending the wave and the Gatorade shower. I'm doing the people's work.
That's filth. Let's see. More. Let's see. Audio and video settings. Don't need to label the thing. Oh, there I am. Hi.
I don't need to label the thing.
Yep. Hold on. I have to set.
How does WW know that Gatorade is so sticky?
Huh?
I don't know. I didn't know it was sticky.
It is. Is it?
How do you know it's sticky?
Whoops. Crap. Hold on. I kicked Johnny out. We'll draw him back. Hold on. I lost him. I'll bring him back. Don't worry. Before the break. Oh, I lost you for a second. You're back.
I was so busy watching the YouTube channel, I didn't realize I dropped off.
Yeah, like we kicked you off or whatever. Yeah. Okay. We're better. All right.
Everyone, if I paid attention to the chat, and with everybody going, where'd Johnny go?
Right. I fixed it. Don't worry. There we go. Hold on 1 second. There you go. Hold on. Let's get this out of here. There we go. Clear these. Whoops.
Coming back in
damn
15
it.
seconds.
Keeps dropping off. Quit it. I'll bring him back. Don't worry. Give me a second. Damn it. Here we go.
Attention, attention, stop what you're doing.
Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I got him. I had lost Johnny for a second. It was very exciting. It was a newsworthy moment.
You should have seen the angry face I had when he dialed me back.
Like, oh.
Like, oh, you.
Yeah. So right now,
center me.
Yes, right now, let's get back to where we were. This is a real story because people out there in the radio world, they don't know, they don't care, they can't see all this craziness behind the scenes unless they go to infotainmentwars.com. We don't need the documents. We have the information. And twitch.tv/HalSparks. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps the show. It helps us be here. It's the only way we're here, actually. So no pressure. All right. So deaths are rising currently in the United States. Statistically, by percentage, but materially, they're low. This is like the stock market issue. The stock market had a terrible week, even though it stayed above its all-time record from last August that it stayed above for that it would never reached before. You know, that's one of the things
almost
about
like everything's relative.
Right. Hey, now we're on to something. Now we might be talking about something. Okay. If you'll recall, Trump loves to brag about gas prices, especially when no one was going anywhere and oil was negative $35 a barrel. You'd think gas would be relatively cheap when, it's amazing how cheap things are when no one uses them or there's a lot of them laying around. You know what I mean? It's like the difference between selling dirt and fertilizer, right? Fertilizer's a little special. You might need it, and you got to make it, and it's a mixture of dirt and other stuff, and you want to, there's even good versions of fertilizer. We've been known to make our own, and yet dirt in and of it's like sand in and of itself, not so helpful. There's a lot of it around. You're trying to grow some plants. You're not going to get a premium for it, is all I'm saying. It's not going to be a high-priced commodity. And in this particular sense, if you're looking at these percentage differences, deaths are rising. This is from Axios's breakdown of these numbers. Deaths are rising in the United States, but the U.S. still has a lot of COVID. A reminder that even the milder variant is still a very real threat to unvaccinated Americans. Now, there is still Delta and wild type out there. And Omicron doesn't necessarily show up in some of the older tests. And also...
Delta and what type?
The wild type, the original.
I totally missed that variant. Oh, okay. That's like before Delta?
That's everything. That was the original COVID-19. There was an alpha variant, which is the first variant after the wild type. Wild type is what's...
That's the one that the hipsters got.
That's right. Yes, wild type. You break my Johnny Skype. Anyways, so there was alpha, there were several betas, there was the Mu variant and other stuff like that. And then there was Delta, which was the big breakthrough one in August that was very dangerous, but didn't spread as quickly compared to, say, Omicron, which spreads very quickly, but is not killing as many people. But by the volume, because of how much it spreads, the concern is you get a volume of deaths from that just because there's more people getting it. And It is, again, a pandemic of the unvaccinated. This is clearly right now, like you're talking about 90, and we dealt, this is, again, the statistical fun part. We talk about on my live show weekly, daily sometimes, depending on who's lying about it, the lie of percentages without a baseline number to judge it by, right? Because if you have one thing happen and it happens once and then it happens twice, that's 100%. Oh my God, there's been 100% rise in this situation that happened twice in a town of 7 million people. So like percentages without that baseline number to judge is relatively worthless. And what you saw come and go is one of the bigger, dumber lies. I mean, you can tell how dumb a lie is by how, if Don Jr. does a video about it, it's a dying talking point that will fail. Like you just count on it. It's a matter, and the quicker he does it, the shorter it lasts. Like he is the right-wing talking point shark jump. That's it. Like you can tell it has jumped the shark as soon. And if he makes it the same day, it's not going to last to the weekend. And in this particular case, there was this thing that 75% of the people who died of COVID had 4 or more comorbidities. Right? That was the talking point. Did you hear that one when it came out, Johnny Million? It was all over Fox News.
No, but the chat seems to think that I've got a lot of pain and suffering, so we're getting a lot of super chat. So I want everybody to know that I'm fine. I'm plenty warm.
Yes, he was chilly. He had to pet his cat. He blew his nose.
That's right, and he's fine. The super chats trickle down. Hal is a very good man.
Yes, and he's, by the way, he's he may look like he's doing this show from the docks, but he's not. So it's an inside joke for the live stream. So, but it's important.
So I don't know. I didn't hear the original. There's 4 comorbidities.
It was everywhere. The 5 talked about it. Like I said, Don Jr. did a video. It was all over Daily Wire and all these things. 75%. Well, what it turned out to be was 75% of the vaccinated people that died of COVID during the Delta wave had 4 or more comorbidities. So even though they were vaccinated, I bet
you could make it sound worse.
Oh yeah, that was 36 people in total. That was the vaccinated people there were 36 people who were vaccinated who died in total. While tens of thousands of people are dying unvaccinated, 36 people were vaccinated, died, and of those, 75% of that 36%, those 36 people had 4 or more comorbidities. So there was they were ice skating uphill anyways, even the vaccine. And there's, by the way, there was nothing in this about when. Right. And they were over 80 years old. But there was also that was one of the comorbidities. Being that old is a comorbidity in the case of.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So 27 people out of the people who died. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Trump supporters who are stomping their feet and refusing to get vaccinated on purpose, and their tangential left-wing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Fans and fans of Wasp from the Ant-Man series, the 3 of those people are dying. Now, in all fairness, Evangeline Lilly is vaccinated. She's just supposedly against mandating it because I guess she falls into the kind of Fox News zone of, well, we don't have a mandate, just do it optionally. That way it kills off all the dumb people, right? We're trying to get rid of the MAGA group.
Does Evangeline Lilly have like libertarian leanings?
Yeah. That's, which is, it's easy to bootstrap when you're that hot and born into the industry. But anyways, what I'm saying is you've got, that's a statistical mess. That's where you're playing with that number. And the same thing is true with inflation. Inflation is up 7% compared to the crater of 2020. In 2021, it was up 7%, that for the year. If you compare it to 2019, it was up 5.2%. If you take out gas prices and the fluctuation in that, it's closer to 4. Is it higher than you want? Yeah. But that still includes all the deaths. That's not the business part of it. That's just people who were working, who are no longer working, and not passing an item you want to buy from one person to another in the middle of that. So lowering that supply chain availability and therefore driving prices up an extra 1.5%. So what does that mean? It means it's artificially high in 2021, which means it's going to be artificially low in 2022. And all the people who are clamoring about it are going to drive us towards deflation and monkey with the entire economic system based on a false number from the year before. So the difference that people need to focus on is if you're crawling out of a hole, you're not climbing a mountain. And pretending you are is dangerous and foolish. And it's what gives us excess deaths in the Midwest and in the South and in the MAGA country. And it creates economic policy that pretends 2020 never happened. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this because I want to talk about some of the economic factors. And I also want to talk about Biden getting a little angry this week, and with good reason. Man. With good reason. We'll be back.
I'm worried about your cough in the chat, Hal.
Nah, it's just a clear. I'm okay. It's been I got the crud a few weeks ago, and it's just a linger. And it only happens when I talk for long stretches. Yeah. So it only happens during the show. I don't walk around the house coughing. And it's interesting because I don't do it when I'm singing at all, which is interesting. You know, I thought, oh man, it's been a tickle for a little bit. It's gonna bug me. Doesn't happen. And my oxygen levels are friggin' amazing. I have that app on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong one. That's the heart rate. Hold on. I have to find it. Is this it? That's the cycle tracking. Where is it? I forget which one it is. It's really cool.
I've got that on my Fitbit too.
It's
pretty good. Yeah. I never cough when I run, but when the first thing I say to my wife every day, I have a coughing fit. She always thinks I'm going to die.
Yeah, well, especially in the cold. You ever get the cold cough when you step outside?
Yeah.
And you do that breathe in and your body just rejects it like weed.
I get like a weird dehydrated cough sometimes. 90% I won't drink enough.
96% blood oxygen, and that's just nice. I just worked out, so it's pretty solid. So fear not, everybody. I'm good. It just gets this tickle after I get on a run of talking. Yeah. Yeah, mine's usually at 99 and 100, but I literally went to the gym this morning. Yes, I do have.
What did you do at the old gym?
Today I blew out chest.
Blow that chest out.
I'm trying to grow my man boobs.
You have one of those inflatable chests?
The struggle is real. And so my arms grow really easy. I've always had like biceps and triceps. If I do that, my shoulders won't grow and my chest won't grow because my arms will pick up the slack. Everybody has some sort of compensatory muscle thing, right? So, you know, and I've always had that. And so I've got
my man boobs grow real easy.
Yeah, but that's because of cheese. That's different.
I'm talking about cheese and chocolate.
Yeah, right. But I've been moving, I've been shifting my workout around to try and compensate for that discrepancy, and it's been working, but it takes a lot of work. So I get home and I have to do it until I'm nearly passing out at the gym, where I get lightheaded, and then I break, and then I do it again. Yeah. I'm just coughing now to mess with people. Also, this the C4 Super Brain, which I enjoy, it's spicy or something. Whereas my mate drink doesn't make me cough.
A C4 Super Brain.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I'm going to look at that article before we talk about it.
Coming back in 20.
Are we doing Biden now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
TF, I'm not too familiar with Ween. I know that they're cool, but I don't know much about them.
I feel like I've been working with weights for a month since I hurt my back. 5-pound suitcase deadlifts, wall rows working. Take it easy, Hal Vicker. You're in no rush. That's the thing I've learned is that I had to build.
I know I'm only on one day a week. I get it. I don't have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all that. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all that. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Ooh.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
So, Johnny Million, I have a question for you. What do you do if you have a criticism of somebody, like there's somebody who's, like, let's just say, for sake of argument, they're a jerk. And they've always been a jerk. And every time you've known them their whole life. No, I'm not pointing fingers. And you've known them as a jerk. And
then like 4 people from high school just popped into mind.
Right, yeah, they're all jockeying for position, like the jerks that they are. They're all elbowing other jerks out of the way for frontal lobe space.
Like, remember that kid in front of the White Hen Pantry?
Yes.
That was a jerk.
Uh-huh. The one I neck locked, or like with my leg. That's another.
There's one that you grabbed his face.
Yes, that's right. And it ended up doing an inside the knee chokehold on him, literally squatting, holding him like that. Yeah, that was a gnarly exchange. Anyways, so you have this person, they're a jerk. They treat everybody like crap. They're rude. They're dismissive, and all these things. And it has not been enough time for, time has not passed. You've been expressing this to somebody. You've been going, what a jerk. What a huge jerk. They were a jerk last night. Last night, they were such a jerk. And then you're like, they're going to be at this party. And you're like, oh, man, I hate them. They were such a jerk. And then you show up at the party with your friend who you just explained what a jerk this person is. And that person is all smiles. And they're the sweetest person you've ever met. And you're like, what happened? Now, do you say in this moment, do you have a moment of death? Maybe they were just having a bad night. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they're a jerk. No, you sit there and you go, what a smarmy. This is baloney. They're just doing this to, what?
It's an act.
Right, it's an act, right? To your friend. No, last night, you got to believe me, right? If it's been months and years, then you're like, I don't know what happened. We should talk to this person. Did they lose someone and finally recognize life has more meaning? Right, exactly. It's a great thing. So, and for those in the chat who are asking, Johnny and I went to high school together. So we have a lot of history
I guess
beyond
for people who might not know.
That's right. We have a lot of history beyond the history that we have from this show. And so...
Yeah, we've known each other since we were 16.
Yes, formative years. And the problem with that the right wing has right now is the whole Sleepy Joe thing. Oh, man, they were selling Sleepy Joe. And he's sleepy, he can't put a sentence together, he can't talk, can't say anything. He needs a teleprompter, even in situations where there's no teleprompter. His teleprompter fails when he's speaking extemporaneously, apparently, whatever that means. That's true. This is an argument they put forward. While Trump is, a flailing mess, as people will see later on today, by the way, I'm calling it, because I'm going to be live streaming that rally he's doing in Podunk, Texas.
He's doing another rally? Yeah, it's so amazing that I don't hear about these rallies until you talk about them, Hal.
Well, it's because they're not anything. He's not in any major cities because, and it's not because he can't draw a crowd to some degree, because these people will, caravan. He's deadheading. He's, you know what I mean? You're always amazed at the crowds at fish shows, and most of us are like,
wow, I didn't even hear about this show, but look at all these people.
Right, exactly. It's that kind of, it's a branding exercise at this point. We're seeing how micro branding works when it comes to Trump. You get a really fervent crowd and they just follow you everywhere. And everybody there is like, look at the crowd I'm drawing. You're like, yeah, it's the same people, because they're all like, this is my 50th rally. Like, you're a lunatic. Anyways, so they ran on Sleepy Joe. Now they're like, but Angry Joe. Oh, how dare he? And that comes from this week. They're running on the Angry Joe thing. And this is Biden talking this week about Build Back Better, especially the aspects of healthcare around this. And we're going to talk about this. I want to play this clip. And this is what they're saying is, Angry Joe, he can't control his anger. That's our fear. He's the guy who's going to sleep through the 3 a.m. phone call is now so angry, that he'll nuke Russia just because he's having an Irish moment. Here we go.
Imagine being the parent, making the minimum wage or twice the minimum wage, and having a child with type 1 diabetes, knowing that if you can't and have no insurance, knowing if you cannot get that money for the insulin, your child may die. In addition to your child, it strips you of your dignity, damn it. Can you imagine looking at your child and you know what they need and not be able to do it? Many of you have lost children. Many of you have seen. Imagine. It's outrageous. And we have an answer. At the same time, same is true for home and community-based services for seniors and people with disabilities.
Right? You got a round of applause right at the tail end of that one. And that story in and of itself, the right wing has literally, now keep in mind, these are the same people telling you that, taking pot shots at abortion providers, for example, is righteous anger. That shooting a doctor who may at some point recommend a therapeutic abortion for a woman who might die from the pregnancy so that she can have other children in the future, for example. That person deserves, you can understand why people would want to harm that person, the famous sort of O'Reilly Tiller, the baby killer nonsense, and their reaction to it. But somehow, Biden getting upset about this idea that something like insulin, this is not something anyone invented. We're not talking about a prescription drug in particular that was that somebody at a pharmaceutical company, being paid money, made an advancement because they dropped a bunch of R&D funds into this. This is a biological necessity that every human body has, that some people don't produce enough of. And without it, you will die. This is not consumer electronics. This is not a nicer car. This is something your body will shut down without. And the idea that should be up to market forces in a functioning society is insanity. And it is an outrage. Because again, there may be a pharmaceutical company that comes up with a way to treat a disease, right? And it's very expensive because they dumped all this money in it and there's not that many people who have this disease. And so either the government has to subsidize it or something's got to happen, or it's just got insurance companies have to pay a bunch for it because otherwise we would never make it in the first place. It just takes too much, like the cost of just doing the tests to, on people, and the insurance around that is so expensive that it would just destroy the company. You just go out of business because you can't afford to dump, it's like if you dug nothing but empty wells as an oil company, or if you dug nothing but empty mines, if you were farming dead land, if you wanted to make a farm on, in the sand, you would eventually starve to death. People would die. People would run. Those resources would be not available to the people that need them to survive because you were digging in an empty field. You were drilling where there is no oil. And so eventually, no one would get anywhere. So because your effort would be misspent. Take the whole economics out of it. If we need apples out of a tree, like that's the only fruiting tree that exists in the area, and you need them for food, and you're only climbing pine trees, you're wasting that effort. And if you climb up and you take all the apples, and then you are convinced somehow there's apples under the tree, and you dig it up and the tree dies, everybody dies. So there's an element of investment in R&D is a recuperative cost, and the government and a functioning society would go, hey, we'll help you out with those costs. The universities will do a lot of this study. The NIH and the CDC are going to do a lot of this study. You can just manufacture it because you guys have a better facility. We don't want to maintain facilities where we're manufacturing drugs, so we'll split the cost between you and we'll even it out. That argument, that market-based versus available drug thing, because again, even though you make that drug might not work for everybody. Some people might be allergic to that apple you get out of that tree, and so it won't help. So there's a mismatch between reality. That is not the case with insulin. Never will be. Every human body needs it. The production of it it's the same reason why, water as a utility can, the providing of it into your home might be something you can charge for. But as a human right, there's a certain point where if someone's dehydrated, we're going to provide them with water in a functioning society, right? Because
unless you live in Michigan.
Right. Well, but again, it matters who runs things, right? Because the infrastructure bill is going to fix all those lead pipes, not just in Flint, Michigan, but all throughout the United States. It matters who you elect. Could Trump have done this? Absolutely. Could Trump have passed that infrastructure bill, the exact same one? Yeah. But it would have required Democratic votes to do it, and that's why he didn't do it.
Yeah. He
would rather have lead pipes providing poison and toxic water to children than make a deal that makes the Democrats look like, see, we worked with them on some stuff. Even though there were plenty of bills that were, the normal perfunctory, growing government or function of government that were passed and went through. That was one of the things where it needed to be done like we're the only people doing it. And so if we're not the only people doing it, we're not doing it at all. So in the case of insulin, for example, whether Build Back Better makes it to the floor or any of those kind of things, there is and it's one of the reasons why it's in BBB, there is a bipartisan acknowledgement that no one can live without insulin. No human being. And some people who don't produce it, and there's a lot of them, by birth and by lifestyle, there's a huge swath of Americans who require it. And it is a material market force in the United States. It defines whether people have extra money to buy a car or go to the movies, even beyond the poverty aspect, which is what Biden is arguing. It is a diminishment of the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of the average American, and therefore can and must be handled. And that's why they put it in there. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. More righteous anger after we come back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, yes. Mega Worldwide. I love how the bomb cyclone is hitting. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. You've seen the winter storm stuff in New York?
I saw that there was a nor'easter coming.
Dude, it's gnarly. More Cupcake anger. That'll be in the Cupcake will be making an appearance. Everybody's going to make an appearance on the Trump rally tonight. Baby Hal, Cupcake, Ficus, because it's the only way I can get through it. It's the only way I could do one of those rallies is just pull because it's on the one hand it's infuriatingly awful, and on the other, but the majority of it is just friggin' boring. Trump is a colossal snooze these days. Even his like most violent rhetoric is a waste of time.
He just doesn't even believe what he's saying anymore.
No, he does not.
He's like waiting to die.
Right. He's so over it. He's over all of it.
Me too.
Yeah. Hold on.
Did you see I'm a jalapeno now, Hal?
What? You got member status? You got member status? You're not just a member, you're a member icons, as well?
Man. I needed the little emoji
back
things.
in 20.
Right. Thank you.
Now I got my Zoltan.
Awesome. Hold on.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I thought there was going to be like a new one every break. I was so excited.
You want more, Hal? We'll give you more. Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. Hoo-yah!
Welcome back. Johnny, I don't know if we talked about it. By the way, Johnny's now a member. He's not just a member, he's a member on our YouTube channel, which is infotainmentwars.com.
I'm a member.
That's right. We don't need the documents. Infotainmentwars.com. And that'll send you to the YouTube channel. Please become a member. Think about it. We're trying to grow our membership. We're nearing that 30,000 mark. Fingers crossed, we'll get there piece by piece. And it's not just all the Russian bots that have joined lately. I must have cleared some sort of algorithmic needle where they're like, oh my gosh, look, he's growing at an astonishing rate on all of his, where the live stream is, and it was making them nervous. So they have to get in there and start dropping very odd links in the thing, and just noise, essentially. It's just almost like they stick
stuff about I live in Australia and we're all on lockdown. Yeah. I can't leave my house.
My name is Canadian. I'm Barry, and I'm from a place in Ontario,
my name is
also
Canadian.
named Barry. I'm also loving the hockey. So right now, the East Coast is getting battered right now with what they're calling a nor'easter or a bomb cyclone, which sounds, how is that not a 80s band?
I don't know, bomb cyclone. It also sounds like strangely hip hop.
That's true. Yeah.
Yo, that's a bomb cyclone, dude.
Yo, that's a bomb cyclone, dude. Winter storm sweeping northeast is a bomb cyclone. Weather service says several inches of snow hit New York, or as we in Chicago call it, winter.
Snow.
It's so interesting how a lot of the snow stuff that they're like, oh my God, in New York is stuff I was like, yeah, I remember walking to school in that all the time during high school. Thank you, Claudia, for the super chat, by the way. But to all of those listening in that area who are home, I hope you're on the warm side of a bay window and drinking some sort of heated beverage.
Do you remember trying to get your little car, that little stick shift car, through the snow? We had to go somewhere, and it was a nightmare.
No, yeah, it was not good. Luckily,
we couldn't
it was
even
lighter.
get out of your drive.
Right. Yeah, we're just, all right, just staying in. And quite frankly, that's nature telling you, stay home and invent something. That's, if we learned anything from Sweden, Norway and stuff, there's a reason why, Switzerland and all those places have the Large Hadron Collider, and because cold weather makes you stay in and invent things. There's got to be a way to make these gears smaller. That's this kind of thing, since it's winter outside. Well, I'll just stay inside and shiver and file things down. Right, and this type of thing. So everybody, be careful during that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the economic data, since we've got this audiences here and they're trapped. U.S. economic data says that the U.S. economy grew at the fastest rate since 1984 last year. Oh my God! What? Is it great? Yes, because you're recovering. But let me explain something to you, and this is where we need to balance our realities in this circumstance. That's because we cratered in 2020. Now, the growth was no guarantee. This is the other part of it. What people will eventually say, I will say, inflation, for example, grew at an exorbitant amount because compared to where it was because of gas and used cars, people took their stimmies and they upgraded their car. They bought a new to me car. They got rid of their old used car and got a new used car, because new used cars are like brand new cars 6 years ago, which is amazing. Yep. And they just keep getting better all the time. So a used car is a used medium level car right now is a luxury car from 1995.
Yeah, it's way better than the used cars I had to buy.
Exactly. And so people took their stimulus checks and were like, all right, $8,000 for the thing, and they got a $2,000 stimulus check, and I can't spend it because I'm not going anywhere, and I could put it in the bank, or I could just, I'm going to buy, my car's crap, I'm going to upgrade from my car, which I could probably sell for $3,000, that'll roll it in, and I'm spending $3,000 on a $8,000 or $10,000 car ultimately, And I'll be in better position once the economy starts again, especially if I'm an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, or I need to commute to work still once things get started. And that's what they did. And so people saw those consumers coming, drove the price up. There you go. So not that strange. Gas, same way. Nobody was driving. Now people are driving. Take those two factors out. 7% factors in. Again, not since 1982 have we seen, if you ask anybody economically, oh my God, it's the highest inflation since 82. Anybody remember the great pandemic of 81? Of course not. There wasn't one. That was economic factors caused by oil and gas and economic, choices made by the Fed and others. This is not that. Never was. The inflation's caused by supply chain issues. It's largely supply and demand, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, so the economy grew like crazy compared to the year before. So while it's not where it needs to be, still for some people, it's not only above where it was in 2019, but it's pushing past that. You got a 3% growth over the top of that. Because we're hitting at 5.7, we were never at 3. We were 2.6 or something like that, and we're double that plus a little extra. That's great. That's making up for the year and starting to stack the wins. That's a great thing. What people don't recognize, in some cases, we were headed into a recession in February of 2020 already, based on the economic factors, the Trump decisions about the economy, what he thought was important, his idea that there should be a negative interest rate, his tax cut that wasn't paid for, all those kind of things. Those all started affecting the economy. Was it going to drive us to a depression? No. But was it tamping down growth in the economy? Yes, materially. And we were heading into a mild recession at the beginning of that year. It was hidden under the absolute avalanche of how badly he handled COVID. But it was there. His economic choices led to that. So we were already heading into that. We were already going to have a recession. On top of that, COVID hits. So what needs to be known about, Biden's policy for that extra package that we put in, and what's going to come from the infrastructure package, which is not just quote unquote money printing, it's labor and work and growth that's natural to a functioning society instead of just stimulus checks again, for example. It's the kind of growth that's sustainable, because unlike, if you'll notice, that bridge that fell in Pittsburgh lasted a long time before it collapsed and needed to be fixed for a long time. But once they fix it, it's going to stay fixed for decades. And so all that commerce, all those people going to and from work are going to drive over a safe bridge. That extrapolates out to the economy in a growth factor that's enormous and will be felt for decades. And again, this is something Trump could have done. I don't know why he didn't do it other than ego. But this growth, while comparatively to 2020, might be that, oh my God, it grew so much because we were in a hole. Here's what you need to know about the difference between Trump taking over a second term and Biden taking over. Is that growth, that expansion, that salvaging of the economy was not guaranteed.
Hell no.
Without a system to get the majority of Americans vaccinated and a true push to do so, the collapse of the economy could have continued. Without that rescue package, without a push to that, and Trump wasn't running on a rescue package. He was just mad at Mitch McConnell for not wanting to pay voters with a $2,000 stimulus check like the Democrats were talking about. So he was just angry about that. Why can't we just bribe the voter? But he had no plans beyond that. He was just going to pretend it was over and go back to business as usual. Well, what did Trump business as usual give us? A recession in the beginning of 2020. So the salvaging of the economy, the growth that happened, unlike the inflation number, which is referential year over year to where we were in 2020, the growth in the economy last year was based on the policy of the Biden administration when they rolled in and made it happen. You could tell because it happened in quarter 3 and quarter 4 when the growth started to snowball, and is continuing into 2022. Look at the guys who are making Fox Business angry, who they bring on from Moody's and Wall Street, who are like, yeah, this is great. Wages are up. Costs are going to go down. We're heading towards deflationary measures in so many consumer goods. America's going to be the only functioning consumer economy on the planet in a couple of years. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. We still got a ways to go. But it matters who you elect. And this illusion that, while inflation was going to be year over year what it was based on last year, that somehow the economy was just going to magically heal itself anyway, shrug, and that the Biden administration didn't play a part in fixing it is ridiculous, childish. And everyone at Fox Business, everyone at MarketWatch, everyone in Wall Street knows better, even if they're lying just to keep their taxes low. We'll be back. That cash in a killing wage line landed perfectly, I thought, just right.
Yeah, right on.
So, good morning, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You're watching Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide. I live stream every day of the week, practically, except Sunday. We take back one Kadam to honor the Hebrew God whose staff this is. So sometimes I do Sundays, honestly, if there's something ridiculous happening, but most of the time, no. I have to do 1 day of tech fix, literally under my desk on Sundays. Not
everything been burned. You have to put out the fire.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what did this fail? What happened? And I go hunting for there's 9 updates I have to do. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Support the show. There's also lots of clips to watch if you don't have time for the bigger show. There's lots of shorter versions of stuff. So just check out the channel at infotainmentwars.com. You can go watch segments of stuff if you want to see how I handle Tucker or Bongholio or any of those folks. You can just go watch those pieces. We were literally, Crooks and Liars, bless their hearts, posted this thing, this clip, because I was literally doing my thing on a Bongholio, Dan Bongholio clip, and because he just gotten kicked off of YouTube and he tried to get around it, and in the middle of me doing my thing, they killed the clip. They literally, as I was watching, it just went, "This video not available." And I was like, "That's awesome." Do I call it MacGyver time? I am gonna. That's what I will now, Brad. That's a great name for it. It's MacGyver time. Yeah. So give us a thumbs up while you're at it. If you're just sitting there during the break, there's a little thumbs up below there. Also, and that's on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, use some of the emojis for stuff like the smile or the whatever or the crying or the angry. Angry works very well because apparently, in the name of good mental health, Facebook gives more points to the angry face emoji as far as what it gets you as far as CPM, really? For ad rev, than thumbs up. Isn't that weird? Because they feel like you're emotionally invested. Yes, thumbs down works just as well. If you give me a thumbs down, it's just as valuable. I want you to know that. Because I got guys, these tech companies, all they care about is engagement. Hate watchers watch more intently than happy watchers. So that's why Facebook does this. So the hate watchers watch if they see an ad, they're like, "I am in an angry state," and yet Charmin. So yeah. There you go. Thanks, guys. Yeah, trolls, go ahead and give a thumbs down, please. Good times. 6.9% in the fourth quarter. Real GDP beat expectations, averaging 5.5, and because of exports, personal consumption, and non-residential investments, meaning Robinhood. Yeah, Facebook is very troll-oriented. Trolls are their business model, if you can really think of it that way. Inventory investments by motor vehicle dealers and widespread increase in exports such as industrial supplies, food, and beverages were among factors leading economic growth despite offsets from minor decreases in federal, state, and local government spending. Even with the government spending less. Thanks, W.
Did you see the some of that
Back
awesome Jen Psaki stuff when they asked about the spending in the Build Back Better bill?
Yes. Yeah, I'll see if I can find that in one.
Yeah, who says it's not? Who says it's not paid for?
Right.
I saw Midas get a feature on it.
Yeah, and that woman, the reporter who was asking that question was like,
she just froze.
You're listening to the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at HalSparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Fuss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
There is a, and by the way, 773-763-9278 is our number if you feel like calling in about the week we've had. And again, while case rates are expanding with Omicron, the number of hospitalizations and deaths is not increasing at the same rate it was, say, under Delta or any of these other waves because of the distance between Omicron spread and lingering Delta deaths and some other Omicron deaths. And largely, that can be stacked on top of vaccination status. It's not a lot of work. This is not mental heavy lifting. And this idea that you're going to have like chicken pox parties with Omicron, which is the idea that's spreading across there, is a terrible idea. We just had a police officer who told the government to KHA, kiss his, and he's dead.
He dead.
He's dead. And from an Omicron strain. And again, the undercounting of the numbers, which goes to that kind of statistical conversation that we're having, contributes to that. Because they're like, well, it's not that bad. Well, you're in a state where they don't want the state to be bad. So they're undercounting it. I mean, Florida, the governor was literally threatening a woman for telling the truth. They were going to raid her house, right? They raided her house at one point. And DeSantis, we now know, won his election as governor at a margin smaller than the death rate from Omicron while he has been in office. Also, the idea that somehow, and yeah, right, and the number of people who have died under Biden is higher than the number who have died under Trump. Well, first of all, Trump had till May before it got up to speed. So we're really only talking about deaths from April on, late April on in the year. Whereas Biden came in with the Trump lack of plan, disdain for science in full swing.
It makes me really mad.
Yep. And then continuing on, only in red districts. And this is kind of instructive, I guess, about the fall, because we have it's 2022, kids. Let me remind you, we have a midterm, and in this country we vote every 2 years. We vote every 2 years. We don't have a presidential election and a midterm election. There's no mid to this term. This is part of the term. We vote every 2 years in this country for all kinds of things that matter and affect people. And that bridge that collapsed in Pittsburgh could have been fixed 3 years ago. But the person that was voted into office, not only by the people who voted for him, but by the people who refused to vote in 2016, didn't vote or didn't feel inspired. What am I inspired to vote? Yeah, but her emails. I don't know if I feel inspired to vote. Well, that's because you have a complete disdain for impoverished people and sick children and anybody but you. The ego involved in shrugging off a vote of any kind, especially if you consider yourself an activist or someone who cares about the issues, is madness. And again, one of our favorite Sparksisms around here if you are ever presented with a choice of the lesser of two evils, choose less evil. Because by not choosing, you are allowing more evil.
You're voting
to
evil.
go forward. Yeah, you are voting evil by not voting. By saying, I don't know, less evil. Is there a difference? Well, when you're talking about, say, why did the ACA not have a public option? That level of shrugging. Because if you'd had more people in there and that was a rock solid vote, it'd have stayed in. The Blue Dogs mattered because of a bunch of people shrugging off their vote over the years. Well, what's the difference? The parties are just two legs in the same pair of pants, right? That's the story. And yet, there was no Trump healthcare plan. All the things that Biden got angry about in the Build Back Better plan, we've been talking about insulin for poor people and poor children, managing that cost for all Americans, because again, it's not something you can do without. If you find yourself needing it, this is not like, well, I'll say no to that treatment because it may or may not help me. Insulin is not one of those things. The fact that it's in the Build Back Better plan, or that's part of the actual, that bill is written and put on the floor. It's not 2 weeks away like Trump was always planning. Like we're always 2 weeks away from Trump's healthcare plan.
Yeah, we are.
Even when he had control of the place. What infrastructure plan? He can complain all he wants about how we got out of Afghanistan, but we're out. We are out. After 20 years, we're no longer in Afghanistan. And you know why Trump didn't get us out of Afghanistan? Because the very same leaders that were in the military that told Biden, look, it's going to be ugly. There's no way to get out. We've been in there for 20 years. There's going to be deaths. It's going to be messy. And Trump went, oh, I don't want to hit my polls like that. We'll just stay in. We'll just keep that base and be in Afghanistan forever. We'll always have a forever base.
Take it down the road and let somebody else handle it.
Right. Let it be somebody else's problem. He ran on it, but he never did it. Same thing with infrastructure. Ran on it, never did it. Healthcare plan. Ran on it, never did it. Biden comes in. The American Rescue Plan rescued the economy and created a system where economic growth is skyrocketing. And but for gas, which is measurable to the world market on oil, and used cars, which people, like I said, use their stimmies to put down on a used car, and the availability of new cars because of supply chain stuff, which is an issue that, by the way, the Biden administration is fixing. Ask the folks in Ohio who are going to be working at the new Intel plant that is going to come there, because as part of the American Rescue Package, what did Biden put in? Seed money for loan guarantees for chip manufacturers to start building their stuff here. Anything that is crucial to the United States, the safety and security of the United States consumer, the DoD, all the technology that we're going to need for the future, here. It can be assembled someplace else, namely Mexico. We have a great relationship with them, and they have very skilled workers, and their demographics speak to a growth that will measure that. They've got enough young people that are going to work at factories, and they're going to be smart, and they're going to want to interact with America in a way that previous generations didn't. That's happening now. Could it have happened 2 years ago? Of course. There was no giant leap forward in technology in the last 2 years in terms of the manufacturing of chips as far as just building factories. What about infrastructure? Something magical about 2021 and 2022 versus 2018 or 2017 as far as bridge technology? Did we discover some way to print bridges that doesn't cost any money and like, oh, okay, let's just make a bunch of bridges now? No, nothing changed. Except who is in charge? Who is representing your taxation? You're going to pay taxes, and you want to be able to direct those taxes to do stuff that makes your life measurably better. And every time that happens in the economy, Democrats are at the helm. Every single time. If you want to chase Star Wars for 8 years during Reagan, while the infrastructure collapses, that's what you get. If you want to get a president that ignores the presidential daily briefing and ends up getting us into a 20-year war, that's your choice. But Democrats have time and time again, even with Jimmy Carter, gave you 2 times as many jobs created during the Carter administration single term than the Trump administration single term, with fewer people alive in the country. Not by percentage, actual numbers. More than Reagan. And then we gave you Clinton. After one term of Bush, we gave you Clinton, and whatever issues you may have with the dude, we had a government surplus at the end of his 8 years. So cush to some degree that people are like, I don't know, between the guy who cares about the life of the planet and the guy who, flew his plane on curious missions during Iran-Contra down to South America and came back coked out of his gourd, I'll take the guy I want to have a beer with. I mean, he just seems like a barbecue-y kind of guy. He's like a little down home. Got us into a 20-year war with a country that didn't attack us on 9/11. I mean, they were all Saudis. Were there training camps in Afghanistan? Yeah. Would a drone strike or a strafe bomb would have handled those things? I mean, we all saw Patriot games, right? No, we got to get dug in. Stay there. Obama comes in, ACA. The ACA has saved millions of lives, and it gets more popular and more functional and cheaper and drives down costs every year. And with the addition of a public option, would allow people to choose between the market forces and something that the government provides at a zero profit margin that they compete with on the baseline, because again, insulin is not something you can do without. There's some elements of our lives that you can't do without. And that's one of them. And that's what a Democrat does when they come into office. And they get crapped on for it. And everybody's like, I don't know, was he that great? Was the Obama? No. People who are alive because of it and their children who got to stay on their insurance plans and still do. Ask somebody whose kid got sick at 25. Because that kid is alive or that family isn't broke because of that. Put a price tag on it. Tell me what that presidency was worth to that person. Trump comes in, 2 weeks. It's going to be in any time now. We'll have it for you. 2 weeks, we're going to have it. Infrastructure bill. It's infrastructure week forever. 4 years infrastructure.
So much better than anything that
so much better. And I know all the good people, and I've got the best people and the best words and the thing. And just wait. Give me another shot. Give me another bite at this apple. And then Biden comes in. American Rescue Package gets an infrastructure bill passed in his first year in office. Signs multiple executive orders that are genuinely improving the economy and saving lives and protecting people who are in marginalized communities from discrimination and hatred that they should not have to experience just trying to have a living, just trying to go to work, just trying to walk amongst their fellow humans in the most pluralistic society that the earth has ever known. And Democrats are going to shrug this off? Are you kidding me? Democrats, you think Democrats are going to go into 2022 going, well, but I don't know. What's really happened? People are alive now because of the changes that Biden and Obama made together and the changes that Biden made in his first year. And this childish foot-stomping nonsense, I would prefer if we left that to Trump and his right-wing cronies who are all just mad about some fake election fraud that must have been the reason. It couldn't have been that he never did anything worth a damn and that the wall apparently doesn't work. We got to take a break. Don't get me started on the fact that if passage across the border is worse than it's ever been, how come it was never that bad during the Obama administration? It's not like the land changed. What changed? They built a wall. Well, gosh, maybe the wall's the problem. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. I'm rant over. I'm good. Good for a moment. I mean, they just, remember the surprise billing thing that, that Trump was touting that they never actually got passed? And then Biden just did it? We got, yeah, okay. Talk about this. And hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. I wasn't ignoring you during that. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I'm sorry Democrats are just better at governing on a national level than Republicans are by all the measures that matter to Republicans, much less Democrats. I mean, the Democrat nationally, the Democratic Party is the walk and chew gum at the same time party. Trump can barely walk. If he was chewing gum when he had to do that ramp, he'd been somersaulting.
Yeah, he would have needed 2 people to help him down the ramp.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thanks, Bonnie. Just aggravating. And
Back in 20.
And part of thank you. What really winds me up about this whole thing is the kind of shruggy nature of the activist class on the Democratic side. Like, I don't know. It's gross.
You want a quick promo, Hal? You got a quick promo, Hal.
Welcome back to the Hellsparks Radio program. Megaworldwide, Chicago's First Talk, WCPT. Woo! Yeah!
Okay, I have to, after that last run, I have to take a slight detour for a moment just to kind of reset myself. Do you remember Natalia Veselnitskaya?
Oh yeah.
The Trump the lawyer that met with Don Jr. and Jared in Trump Tower. Two floors below Trump, I think, and 1 floor above where the Russians used to run a human trafficking and gambling network out of his building.
Yeah, man.
But he couldn't possibly have known. The floors are too well insulated. He didn't hear the screams. So she just got busted. Now this is pretty fascinating. She did this thing. Okay, so the story was, if you'll remember, that she was just worried about the Russian adoptions. That all these...
Oh, yeah, all about adoptions.
If he sanctions these things, how will we be able to adopt? The thing is like, okay. And which is crap. And the whole conversation, basically what I do is, Johnny and I want to have a secret meeting, okay? And Devin in Chicago cannot be a part of the meeting because of campaign finance rules and other stuff. So Johnny and I come in and I bring in one of those pamphlets for skydiving, right? And I walk in and I throw it on the table, and then he and I talk about a bank robbery, but with this skydiving pamphlet on the table. And then Devin, who magically shows up with money from a bank robbery months later, was never part of this meeting. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what he got paid for being the mastermind behind this bank robbery that the two of us pull off. Because we just sat there and talked about skydiving. I don't know. I just what you mean. I look.
Why would we have the pamphlets otherwise?
He's still got the pamphlet. The pamphlet has my fingerprints and his fingerprints. I came in, we sat in this board, and we talked about skydiving. How do you know? Well, because I brought a skydiving pamphlet. That's what I gave him. And he took away the skydiving pamphlet. What else proof do you need? Now, at no time was Johnny holding up, open his cell phone on speaker with Devin in another room, listening in on the conversation, and even interjecting. That never happened. How do you know? Well, because what phone? Right? That's what happened, effectively. You know, Trump arguably was present at that meeting. He just showed up. Jared came down and allegedly and put his cell phone on the table so Trump could be in the meeting without being in the meeting. And he just listened to it on speaker while she talked about what would happen, what support they would get from the Russian government and all this kind of, and then after it was like, no. She doesn't work for the Russian government. She works for an NGO that's just worried about Russian adoptions, man. Natalia Veselnitskaya is just worried about the Russian babies. And Trump should too, because a lot of them are being born in Trump Tower, Miami, apparently. I don't know if you know that, Johnny, but it was a Trump Tower, Miami is a hot spot for Russian anchor babies. It's like Russian women giving birth to, they go and stay in Trump Tower, Miami, and then they magically have an American citizen. And it's just yep, they have a top. While, by the way, he's complaining about anchor babies as a concept, when it's people of Hispanic nationality or Middle Eastern origin or whatever, like that, that's when it's a problem. But when the Russians are pumping them out, and that's just good business. So she just got busted. And new court papers accused the notorious Trump Tower lawyer of clandestine effort to tamper with official government papers. Now that sounds like, well, maybe she's just trying to negotiate with the U.S. government again, right? She doesn't work for the Russian government. This is all about okay, hang on. Trump Tower lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya has been accused of an elaborate new plot to pervert the course of justice, which sounds very Trump. Perverting the course of justice sounds like something that happens in Trump Tower.
That's just his move.
Veselnitskaya, the pro-Trump, pro-Kremlin lawyer, pardon the Freudian slip, who attended the notorious 2016 Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner and Trump on speakerphone, allegedly doctored official documents according to leaked files. Okay, so that still sounds like, well, she's probably that's just like Michael Avenatti kind of fraud, right? She's a lawyer, she's messing around with stuff. What difference does it make, right? The lawyer, who was tasked with pushing one of President Vladimir Putin's most cherished propaganda campaigns in the U.S., has already been indicted on obstruction of justice charges by the prosecutors for the Southern District of New York. New documents allege that Veselnitskaya or her team may have employed a similar strategy. By the way, her team involves her stepdaughter. Similar strategy to tamper with supposedly independent evidence submitted to a court in a related case in Switzerland, where Veselnitskaya's clients, Denis Gaetz and his company Prevezon, were at the center of a massive tax fraud and money laundering investigation. Man, it's like she's got a specialty. She hangs around with people with tax evasion and money laundering. That's funny. Why would she hang out at Trump Tower? That's odd. Here's the thing. The lawyer of a major, Natalia Veselnitskaya, the lawyer of a major suspect in the Swiss case, which, by the way, is a Russian oligarch, has been editing the testimony directly obstructing justice in the Swiss criminal case, claims a document laying out new evidence. Now, this is the interesting part about this. Okay, she's helping her client. She's messing around. She's doing illegal stuff in Switzerland. What difference does it make? That's just criminal stuff. She's run-of-the-mill criminal lawyer trying to help people avoid taxes, whatever. Court filing by Hermitage Capital, who the Russian government blames for the fraud, includes emails obtained by the Dossier Center, an anti-corruption organization based in London, which appear to show that formal evidence from the Russian state in the case against Veselnitskaya's client was not independently produced as Moscow had claimed. So the Russians were supposed to provide certain evidence about what the business dealings of this company, this Russian, half-owned company by this Russian oligarch. She was supposed to bring in this stuff from Russia, and she monkeyed around. And this is one of the most beautiful things. Can I just say, we love metadata here at the Health Park Radio Program.
Yeah, we do.
Worldwide. It's saved me a couple of times in my life from some scurrilous people out in the world. It's a great story that if we're ever in a bar, I'll tell you. But I won't discuss it on the air because it'll draw horrifying attention to an awful person that, would be make their life a living hell. And even though I don't like this person, I also think I don't wish that kind of ill on anyone. So The metadata on one crucial Word document handed over by the Prosecutor General's office in Moscow shows that one of the editors of the report was on the account in the name of Vetselnitskaya NV. Metadata on a second Word document, also obtained by the Dossier Center, showed that the file was authored by someone named called Natalia and then edited by an account called Mitsova N.A. Natalia Alexandrovna Mitsova is the name of Vetselnitskaya's stepdaughter and a former colleague from when they both worked at the law firm Camerton Consulting. And they show the document because in the version history, and by the way, this is why, we got to take a break. This is why there is no Hunter Biden laptop. That's why. There is none. It's not even beyond the fact that it's maybe half real and half not. There isn't one. It's all fake. Because there is no metadata to be shown. Everything that Rudy has claimed about the existence of the Hunter Biden laptop, much less what's on it, garbage. It's all copies of a hard drive he bought in Ukraine. And the reason he can't show anything but photocopies of stuff that are allegedly from it or pictures, the copies of pictures, is because if they showed the metadata, you would see that it was all concocted and fake and BS. Prove me wrong, you can't, because if you did, you'd have to show the metadata, and it won't happen. Yep. And this is why we love metadata at HSRPM. We have to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. Follow him at Johnny Million1, the number one, because he is number one, on Twitter. We'll be back right after this. Hey, Johnny, have you seen the Hunter Biden laptop? The pictures of the Hunter Biden laptop?
There are pictures of this laptop?
No, there aren't. That's exactly my case. In a world where there are more pictures of Rudy Giuliani's lunch plate when he was meeting with Lev and Igor. There are 10 of those. There are zero pictures. And every so often, Bannon screws up and calls it a hard drive because he knows that's what it was. They bought a hard drive overseas. So he calls it the hard drive from hell. Remember? Because it's supposed to be the laptop from hell. Like, get your story straight, bruh. So dumb. Yeah. Yeah, it was a setup. It was a trick question. I got you. Yes, that's right. Rudy has it confused with the Hunter Biden lap dance, which is totally different and definitely happened. There is no such thing as a well-to-do crackhead who hasn't gotten a lap dance. That has to be part of it. I mean, I would love to ask Mike Pillow a couple of questions about that. I don't doubt that he found himself in some untoward environments as a Christian gentleman. Right? There we go. And we're back. Man, the show is just zipping by again today. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for your support. Oh my gosh, Mary, thank you for the super chat. Bless you for that. That's really awesome. And Brad, thank you too. He paid for a good rant. That's what he said. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you for resubscribing on Twitch, Kelly. Bless you. At tier 2. Oh my gosh. I think you're one of the rare few. I got a lot of level 1 subscribers on Twitch. You can
back in 20.
There's higher levels on Twitch. Thank you. Francis, thank you for that as well. Yay, Crooks and Liars loves Hal. We love you guys. Melissa, thank you. Claudia, thank you so much. Thank you, Nikki. I know I'm dreaming, but it'd be awesome if the FBI arrested criminal Trump at one of his rallies. No, you don't want it to happen. You want it to happen pitifully.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm going to have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
So obviously, the big story of the week, though, Breyer stepping down. And now the Biden administration has a chance to, while not add a liberal justice, arguably, to the bench, extend one. Thank you, Benny Loco, for the super chat as well. Thank you guys for joining us. And by the way, oh my gosh, thanks, Jay, for contributing to that hype train by gifting subs to folks on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalSparks. Great way to support the show if you have Amazon Prime. It doesn't cost you a dime. Now, Biden has, of course, it looks like he's looking at Judge Childs, who's she was nominated by Obama to the U.S. District Court, and she's a black woman judge, and Biden would like to, add a black woman to the SCOTUS. And of course, what does that mean? Oh, reverse discrimination. Yeah. Oh, dear God. We cannot do this. This is a terrible, terrible thing. It's horrifying. This is, there are all these highly qualified old white guys that should be considered first. Under the premise, I suppose, that there are not and have never been black female judges that would absolutely be worthwhile on the SCOTUS for their intellect, their decision-making, their fairness, their knowledge of the Constitution. That doesn't exist. Never mind that they've been previously just blazed past them. Weren't even in the list. Right? And by the way, those people who are suggesting Anita Hill, while I love you for your hilariousness, because of the just the pictures of the SCOTUS with her and Clarence Thomas on opposite sides of the picture, just side-eyeing each other, would be indeed hysterical. Would be, proof that we live in a simulation. But it's like we live in just like an ironic computer program. In this particular sense, there are a lot of qualified women, African-American women who are on the bench in other places that are totally qualified, that you have never heard of.
Yeah.
And should get a shot, not because they've been in the press or something like that, in this sort of odd, like we're picking for sports teams or something. Don't get me wrong. Bumping Kamala over to it and bringing in Hillary as VP. As bizarre psychological nukes dropped on the delicate sensibilities of Republicans would again be hilarious and proof we live in a simulation. Because, oh my God, can you imagine? Fox News would just burst into flames. There's a chef's kiss aspect of how crazy the world would be. But that's not what you want the SCOTUS for. Quite frankly, you want to be a bunch of people you kind of never heard of who actually give a crap. And the reason you never heard of them is because they give a crap and want to stay out of a lot of this stuff. Yeah. That's the kind of person you want on the SCOTUS is somebody who isn't necessarily looking for it. The problem with Amy Coney Barrett, for example, was somebody like, we're going to position her. And she's like, you can position me. I will make sure I will dovetail my choices in court to keep me in the sweet spot so that I won't go after the laws we're trying to get rid of until I'm in a position to. That kind of stuff. That's creepy, manipulative. They knew that. You don't want that. You want somebody who's like, I may not like it, but this is the way the law stands with the Constitution, and it will ultimately be fairer for everyone if we judge this way, right? But their fear is that, dear God, a black woman, she will enact revenge because they're so vengeful in their mindset, they can't imagine her coming in and being fair and sensible. That's really where they are. They're projecting their own vengeful reflexes onto someone. So, Stephen Breyer came out and of course was like, we're in a civil war, and, all of his quotes that came out this week, which are, I understand his concerns because of what comes across his desk. if you have a bottleneck of what you experience as far as human life, which everyone on the SCOTUS does, and the longer you've been there, you are at the pressurized end of a fire hose of legal and social fights in the American society. I mean, honestly, SCOTUS's drink from a fire hose. That's what they do. Because everything, while we're all dealing with stuff out in the world and going, well, how do I feel about this? Because they're back and forth about this. They're the ones that narrow the law to either exclude or reject certain legal arguments and political ideals from a certain circumstance because they will serve to limit people's rights down the road or that kind of stuff. So they are drinking from the fire hose of America's social fight all the time. And the fact that they can even maintain is hysterical. And by the way, when Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett don't side with Trump immediately on stuff or go or toe the line in other cases, the freak out is real. Like, it's heavy duty. The hatred comes, hot and heavy on, you know what I mean? Like, it's a misery. So right wingers, I would argue, short of Clarence Thomas, all the rest of them, this group, my prediction is while Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett will be with us for a long time, they're not going to hang around as long as RGB and Breyer did. They're going to retire way earlier because for them, but for a couple of wins that they might get on the board that they get total accolades for, if they can try to, send Roe v. Wade back to Congress, where it will be salvaged, by the way, by Democrats again, in an even tighter and more focused law, because it will have to be, because we're not going to let awful happen to women, no matter how much Republicans want it. As much as they might get credit for those wins, the minute they don't side, it's what have you done for me lately? The second they don't let some sort of you should be able to own a nuclear missile. The right to bear arms is sacrosanct and irrefutable. What well-regulated militia? Phooey. The average American should be able to build a Scud in their basement and fire it at their neighbor in self-defense, right? And the minute they go, nah, I don't think so, they're back to being hated again. It doesn't last. It's fickle. And it's brutally and angrily fickle on the right side. And so I think they'll bug out earlier, this batch, because they were sent to do one particular mission. Once it's over, it's over. It's a thankless job. Always will be. And the only good they'll get is if they do those two things and then get the heck out of there. Because, again, the arc of human society bends towards progress. Whether they like it or not, we're going to become a more open and free society, more accepting, broader in our acceptance of human beings on the margins of life. Sorry, that's where we've always been headed. It's always where we're going to be going. There's nothing you can do about it. We're all, the kids, they look at their children and they're like, why is my kid as bigoted as I was? Well, the same reason you're not as bigoted as your father and your mother were. Because even as much as they might try, you can't pass it along as well. Even the kids that are getting busted for doing racist kind of stuff are doing it in a social media kind of meme way, which, while awful and reprehensible, is nowhere near the Ku Klux Klan level of violence that was happening in the early 1900s. Just the fact. And that's the way society's going. Get used to the idea. And they know this. Amy Coney Barrett knows this. Kavanaugh knows this. They know they're not putting this toothpaste back in the tube. But they got a couple of things they're going to try to win on because they're extremists on a couple of layers. But everything else, they're kind of libertarian and don't give a crap about, or they want to prove their constitutional bona fides by guaranteeing while I will totally go against constitutional law and equal protection for women under the law when it comes to things like Roe v. Wade, I'll boost it in other areas so I can take some of the heat off me, which will make Republicans mad. So I think they're going to get out earlier. But for, Clarence Thomas, the chances of us replacing another, for example, are fairly small. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but this is the singular chance. And I think it's wise and it's a good timing, gives us plenty of time. There's no chance that A hold will happen. The filibuster carve out exists for SCOTUS, always has, so that's helpful. Unfortunately, that's how they got Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, but it will also protect this one this direction. So fingers crossed. And again, the idea that somehow this is reverse discrimination or just plain old discrimination because Biden has already said he wants a black woman on the court as representative of the public. Any cries about that have to recognize, I believe, that there are clearly qualified black female judges in the past that just were never given a shot because of their gender and their skin color. And remedying that is not reverse discrimination. It's a recognition that there are qualified candidates out there who have been passed over. Not
there is no such thing as reverse discrimination.
Idea.
It drives me bonkers.
Right. In this particular case, when you've only got 9 seats, period, and it's supposed to be a representational, group of people, to some degree, one would think.
Like it's almost a case for this is why you need to do this.
Right.
It needs to be represented.
In this particular case, and by the way, the idea that they're not going to like some of her decisions because she's black is the crazier part. Because again, the crime bill, which they were going to run against Biden on, was supported by the majority of black mayors in the country. Was supported by the Congressional Black Caucus because of the victims of crime in their districts at the time in the early 90s. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Michael Anderson reserves his right to own a fictional photon torpedo.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll fight to the death to protect that right.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I will be streaming at 5 p.m. Pacific time, guys, because Trump is will be starting his thing at 7. Guys. Okay, guys. I need a fake cigarette so I can go into Andrew Dice Clay mode. Because that's where he goes. That's what he sounds like to me. You teased in the title, where's Gaetz? Oh, yes, we'll deal with the Gaetz thing, too. Thank you. Yeah. Because that news this week was also...
Back in 20. Are you doing the happy ending?
Yes. There's a Schadenfreude version.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. I try not to do that, but in this one... This one's particularly
sometimes
gnarly.
It's too good.
I don't even know what it's calling it that. It's just...
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you? Chugga chugga choo choo woo! I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Hooray! So, by the way, the wonderful Garfunkel and Oates, just saying.
Yeah.
Did that live in studio for us.
That's so neat.
Remember, it was very lovely. So there's a lot of real good news. Okay, there's a lot of great news actually. And let me see. Do you know about? What do you know about EV batteries, there, Johnny?
EV batteries, not much.
Yeah, electric vehicle batteries. Yeah.
Oh, I know they're expensive when I had to replace one in my Honda Hybrid. There's a couple thousand.
Well, Ohio is hold on. Intel is opening a giant plant for making chips in and this, even whoops, wrong frame. I put you in the wrong thing. Hold on. I kind of love this. Here you go. In Licking County, which I mean, and that's how I traditionally test batteries, namely 9 volts during live shows.
Right
I know you know that. You've done probably, it might be 50-50 because you've done so many shows in your life, how many 9-volt batteries you have tested in just life, is this versus on stage? You know what I mean? It's probably live going, okay, this one's good. I got to put it in the pedal and get ready to go because my 9-volt adapter died or whatever.
Right.
So Licking County is a great place for, a chip factory. But there's a lovely $20 billion investment that that's happening in Licking County, Ohio, in terms of this Intel factory, which, by the way, the money comes from the rescue package. The loans that Ohio is making guarantees on that lure that they're giving them and the tax breaks and the like are made possible by the $4 billion that they would get from the rescue package, right? Because that's what it did. Like, you take this, you can loan money based on this. We'll guarantee this part. You guarantee this part. It's kind of like buying a house and using the equity to buy another house. Think of it that way. Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn's state, because of Biden, is getting a lithium-ion battery factory for electric vehicles because there's a crap ton of Toyotas that are made in Tennessee. The majority of them, matter of fact, in the United States are made in Tennessee, and in Kentucky there's famously the Corvette factory, but there's also a couple of other factories. All because Biden put this stuff in, no matter whether you voted for him or not, for your state, because he believes Americans should all have an equal shot at whatever success they want in life. You can't guarantee it by the government, but you can guarantee everybody at the starting line. Again, the difference between equity and equality. Can't guarantee equality. People will not reach equal standard in their life. They're just not going to. I'm pretty as I am, I'm never going to be Chris Evans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can aspire to a greater height, but I will never be taller, right? It's just, you can't guarantee that. No amount of doing. But none of those things should hold me back from trying my darndest. Hence, equity. That's the starting line part versus equality, which would be the finish line part. You can't guarantee it. Why would you even try? But making sure everybody gets a shot, even if they hate you, that's the Biden way. And so Tennessee's now getting a battery factory. And the economy growing at the fastest rate since 1984. Best employment numbers since in 50 years. And, of course, wages on the rise for the first time in 30 years. Cool. So lots to be happy about in that regard. And again, the naysayers, the doom spreaders will want to say to everybody, well, but. And you're like, you have to build on progress. You have to take the wins and recognize them, because if you can't recognize even your own wins, other people won't trust you that those wins even exist. If you just take them for granted, will it ever be enough is the argument, right? You guys are just going to, that's why they think communism, blah, 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 because you'll never, you got the ACA. Yeah, but we just want a public option. So people have that public option. Oh, I see. You commie. Mm-hmm. You're never going to stop. Well, that's the positive, normal, good news aspect of having functional leadership that actually gives a crap about the American people, even the American people who actively hate. The Let's Go Brandon crowd is going to get more jobs by just per 100,000 out of the infrastructure bill than anybody else. Literally. Like, if you live in a NASCAR heavy area, if you live in a place that's got a lot of Trump signs and that kind of stuff, guess what? you also have the biggest number of failing infrastructure elements in your area. You also have the biggest number of dead factories. That's just statistically true. Might have been even the thing that people would argue. Bernie Sanders argued that that's what drove the white working class into the arms of Trump, was all the dead factories and bad infrastructure, which, they literally created to do it. But Biden is all about fixing that stuff, and we Democrats support him in doing this, even if you hate us. Because it's not your kid's fault that their dad and their mom are jerks. I don't want them growing up in a town with no economic prospects just because you guys are jerks. That's not what I'm looking for. It would be nice if they had more education, the ability to get a higher skilled job over time and elevate their lives and the lives of their children, and their children get to do that as well. Like, that would be lovely. Because the chances of them slipping back into jerkdom are much smaller if they have that opportunity. So, I'm for it. Even in areas where you'll drive through and you're like, see that? They're all, like Rick Scott did it this week. Marsha Blackburn did it this week. People just parading all around going, look at this new factory. Look at this new, bridge project, this road project, all paid for by bills put forward by Democrats, signed by a Democratic president that the Republicans could have put forward, but never did. Could have been signed by Trump, but he never did. And they're going to go, so look what we did. All right, I know I will mock you. I will make fun of you.
Yeah.
But I don't want the project to go away.
Right.
Understand? Because it's not about you. It's not about who's running things right now. That's right. That's exactly right. It is stolen valor. Exactly. So in our happy endings, I try to stick to that kind of stuff. I try to stick to what a great win across the base. I mean, there's all kinds of, even still, the snowfall around Lake Tahoe in Northern California ended the drought in California. There's enough of it that will feed the waterways that basically, that's amazing. And it's still coming. There's snow caps on the mountains here outside of Vegas. Like, it's been one of the coldest, snowiest mountain winters we've had.
That's pretty neat.
Which is, it's great. And the waterways that get fed by the snow that's happening out east, as bad as it is, are the way we move things around the country. Are one of the reasons why America became the factory powerhouse it was, is because of navigable waterways. We have more of them than Russia, even though we have a third the landmass or a fifth the landmass. It's amazing, and it's why we want to keep it clean and functional and make sure the water levels don't go down by working on our part of climate change as best we can. Meanwhile, so I like talking about those things. All good. It's a lot of good. We also have one of the few growing demographics on Earth. Get ready, Americans. Everyone is going to be selling you stuff for the next 25 years. I'm just telling you, because they can't sell it to anybody else because they're running out of kids. There was a huge article today about I saw it on Twitter about I want to say the Daily Mail did it, about the depopulation bomb that's happening. I'm like, what are you talking about? Depopulation bomb. First of all, it's not like kids are dying off and we're not unable to have them. It's not like children of men. There's just fewer people being made. We were headed towards a population explosion. It's normalizing. It's healthy. There's going to be a healthy volume of human beings on the planet. What a crazy notion. Remember how everybody 5 years ago was like, Jesus, we're going to, so many people. Okay, here it is. This is it. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Here's the one. I try not to do these kind of stories, but witness can confirm Matt Gaetz was told he had sex with a minor. This is from the Daily Beast, but multiple outlets are running the story. His girlfriend, on September 4th, 2017, according to his confession letter, Joel Greenberg called his friend Rep. Matt Gaetz with some bad news. A teenager both the men had paid to have sex with was underage, Greenberg claimed. Now, two sources tell the Daily Beast a cooperating witness can confirm details of that call for one damning reason. He was in Greenberg's office when the call took place. Big Joe Ellicott, the shock jock from Florida, former shock jock, I don't know It's hard to be shocking in Florida. We talked about it on Steph's show yesterday. Greenberg's longtime best friend and an employee at the Seminole County Tax Office, where Greenberg made fake IDs, pleaded guilty to fraud and drug charges, part of cooperation agreement, and he was in the room when Greenberg told Matt Gaetz that they had sex with a minor, that they had flown to Georgia, who they also gave drugs to. Bye, Matt Gaetz. Bye. It's coming. You hear that? That's a bad noise for you, Matt Gaetz. Thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. We'll see you guys later on today. I will for the Trump rally. If you want to go to infotainmentwars.com or twitch.tv/HalSparks or my Facebook page, the Hal Sparks page. And I will see you guys later. Love you, Johnny Million. Love you, Chicago.
Love you, Hal
See you
Sparks.
later. I try to avoid the Schadenfreude, but there it is. Cheers. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. I'm surprised I can talk.
See you guys next week.
Thanks. Yes, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chicago. I am sort of like shocked I can speak after the Nerd Halen gigs because we did 2 sets. You know, we did one of those casino gigs where you do an hour and then another hour. And we're doing for the Eddie Van Halen tribute at the Whiskey on Tuesday. We're doing Romeo Delight, which you know, do you know that song, Romeo Delight?
I don't know the title of it, but I know the song, and I know it's on...
And then never in line must have been... Yeah, that one.
Oh, it's one that he forgets the
effing words. You're in for a very long night. Yes, you're in for the very long night. It's that he forgets all of the words most of the time. Yeah, I'm bringing whiskey to the party tonight because I'm looking for somebody to squeeze. That one.
Squeeze.
Yeah. They opened with that for a lot, so we've added that to the set for that very reason, and it's hard to play. There's like a lot of it's difficult and it's yes, and odd timing and all that kind of stuff. So nobody wants to learn it for the jam, so we're doing it, and then we're doing 5150, which also has a lot of that stuff in it. It's got like a real some riffy stuff in it.
I just remember always one more, never satisfied is the only thing I remember from that.
Well, that always one more. Yeah, you're never satisfied. Yeah, so we do that, and the timing on that is so weird. I have to time it off of our bass player because he's literally counting it because he's got it charted. So I jump in with him. I'll go over and share a mic with him. He'll hit it right because he's counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, stop, like that. And I can't tell from where I'm standing on stage in the noise where that pow is. Oh God, it's work. But, I mean, after I do it 100 times, I'm sure it'll become second nature. We don't do enough gigs and enough.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs you don't even realize is complicated
until you play it right, and then you're like, Jesus, yeah. Well, we're doing that one Tuesday, so we ran it twice and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a good time. But I mean, overall, it was a lot. It was a lot of going back and forth between Eddie and DLR singing wise. One or the other, not too hard, honestly. It's not too hard to sing like Sammy on the show.
Yeah.
What'd I say? Eddie?
Eddie.
Yes, Sammy and DLR. Beg your pardon. Yes. Singing like Sammy, doing Sammy for a whole show is okay. I can lock into that mode.
Jesus.
But
you can't.
Because well, the problem is they go down a half step. They try to fix it for him, and he's singing the old songs with his voice, which is the mistake. It's what killed Paul's voice in Kiss, going back and doing the old songs.
Yeah. You know how they're releasing a whole bunch of board albums and board live albums?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's somewhere between 2001 and 2003 is when it all went down, man.
Because of the mixed sets. And you cannot chase your problem. The dude from Deep Purple is like my spirit animal right now. Because that dude sings so friggin' high, and he's old as dirt. And it's because he doesn't chase it down. He never, Glenn Hughes never dropped the key. these people don't need to hear this. This is just between you and me. We're just having this conversation in front of these folks. It's just lovely to talk to you. Sorry. Hi, chat. We'll be with you in just 1 second while we nerd out about Kiss vocal quality during. Yeah, if you drop half a step, you're chasing it. You're chasing the vocals down. The problem is where it is in your throat. Step. Yeah, I know. It's a mistake. Because the problem is the old song, because that's a step and a half for the old stuff.
Right.
That's terrible. Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be on tonight. And then, of course, I will be on at 7 Central, 5 o'clock Pacific time, doing the Trump thing. I'll be on a couple minutes before, and he'll be a couple minutes late, I have no doubt. So we'll chit-chat and play some stuff and talk about it. I'm going to set up a bunch of websites so that I can because I know what his lies are going to be at this point, for crying out loud. He even borrowed some from Glenn Beck.
Live fact checking.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, I should have a giant, like, bullshit that just like a cow that goes lump, 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 lump. Bullshit. Anyways, I'll let you go. I love you. You're awesome. Man. Take care of yourself. And I will see you next week. And yeah, bye. And I'll sign it. There you go. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Johnny Million. You're good, Johnny. See you later, man.
Bye.
Go. And yay. And then boop. And boo boo boo. Doo be doo. Doo doo doo. There we go. Yep. Anyway, so since I'm going to be on later, I'm going to buzz off right now. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the super chats and for the love, everybody. Thank you for the Shadow Woman and Jay and Tony from Ireland. Thank you guys for gifting those subs. Oh my God. Amazing today. Thank you so much. And Benny Loco would love to collab on a song. Okay. I'm for it. Jovan, thank you for the super chat as well. Renee, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate that, Renee. I do. And then Michael says, I reserve my right to own a fictional photon torpedo. Right. Okay. That was the one I missed. And thank you guys for the bits on Twitch. These little things that pop up right here. I don't know why the top stars thing doesn't list. I think it just runs out of space for the names people have. I've got to fix that, Facebook. But thank you guys for the stars. It helps immensely. I got to find a better. Facebook doesn't want you to stream on other services, so they make it really hard for you to show, even through Streamlabs and other stuff, what's going on without it taking over your whole goddamn screen. So, Mariah, thank you so much. So, I'm going to try and figure out a way to make like a star thing come up and do something so I can recognize you guys. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you, trolls. You have no power here, but except for to expand our reach and our growth. And so everybody in the chat room, if you're new, by the way, this is a troll-friendly space because we don't fear them, because words are not violence. We're above that. And we don't have to worry about any of them at all. It's kind of hilarious, actually. And you got to understand, most of them are paid, and a lot of them are desperate just to make a buck. And we don't kick food out of somebody's mouth. You do what you got to do till you can get a real job. It's okay. So take care of yourself, and I will see you guys later on today, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 7 Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time for the Trump ridiculousness. It's going to, oh God. I will make it fun. It's going to be annoying and dull and stupid and infuriatingly lazy, but I'll make it fun. We'll be good, because these are fading. It's kind of good to watch them get worse over time. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Much love. Bye.